The soft shifting light of the bioluminescent moss on Ilara's ceiling pulsed a gentle rhythm, mimicking a slow, steady breath. It was her favorite part of the evening ritual, the way the tiny emerald spores dimmed and brightened, casting a verdant glow across her room. The air, recycled and filtered countless times, carried the faint comforting scent of ozone and the rich earthy aroma of the hydroponic gardens that sustained their world. Ilara lay nestled in her sleep pod, a cocoon of adaptive memory foam that hummed almost imperceptibly as it molded to her small frame. Her eyes, however, were wide open, fixed not on the ceiling, but on the viewport that dominated one curved wall of her chamber. Beyond the crystalline pane, the vast swirling storms of Ethel, the gas giant they orbited, painted a mesmerizing masterpiece of ochre, sapphire, and amethyst. Great, slow-moving currents of cloud spun into hypnotic fractals, each an ancient weather pattern, older than human memory. A soft chime, like wind chimes made of liquid glass, announced her mother's arrival. The door panel slid open without a whisper, revealing Lyra, her silhouette framed by the softer golden light of the corridor. Lyra's dark hair, usually pinned back in a neat coil, had escaped in soft wisps around her face, and her eyes, the same deep brown as Ilara's, were crinkling at the corners with a tired but loving smile. "Still awake, Starlight?" Lyra asked, her voice a low melodic murmur. She glided into the room, and the door sealed behind her with a barely audible sigh. The moss on the ceiling brightened slightly in her presence, sensing her warmth. Ilara sat up, pushing aside the woven synth silk blanket. "I was watching the Eye of Ethel, Mama. It looks like it's blinking tonight." Lyra chuckled, moving to sit on the edge of Ilara's sleep pod. She reached out and gently brushed a stray curl from Ilara's forehead. Her hands were always warm, a comforting anchor in Ilara's world. "The great eye never blinks, my little stargazer. It just gathers its ancient thoughts." Their home, the orbital habitat known simply as the Cradle, was a marvel of bio-integrated engineering. It wasn't a ship that traveled, not anymore. It was a stationary haven, a self-sustaining sphere of interlocking biomos and living spaces, suspended in Ethel's exosphere, like a pearl in a cosmic oyster. Generations had lived and died within its gentle embrace, their lives dedicated to the observation and understanding of the universe. Lyra was one of the Cradle's lead astrophysicists, her days spent deciphering the whispers of distant nebulae and the silent ballet of galaxies. "Did you have a good day in the observatorium, Mama?" Ilara asked, leaning into her mother's touch. The observatorium was Lyra's domain, a vast domed chamber at the Cradle's zenith, where the most powerful long-range telescopes were housed. Ilara had only been allowed in a few times, always under strict supervision, and the sheer scale of the cosmos viewed from there had left her breathless. Lyra sighed, a contented sound. "It was illuminating, Starlight. We made some interesting progress with the Kronos Weaver array, and I have a feeling tomorrow will be even more so." She paused, her gaze drifting to the viewport, mirroring Ilara's earlier fascination. "But tonight, it's story time, isn't it?" Ilara's eyes brightened. "The one about the singing star?" Lyra smiled. "The one about the singing star, but first, let's get you properly settled." She helped Ilara lie back down, tucking the blanket around her shoulders. Then, with a practiced motion, she activated the small holographic projector integrated into the sleep pod's headrest. A faint shimmering field of stardust appeared above Ilara, swirling gently like sugar stirred into warm milk. This was her Dreamweaver, a personalized system designed to soothe and inspire, to guide her subconscious through stories and memories. Lyra took a deep breath, her voice dropping to a soft, almost reverent tone, perfectly attuned to the hushed atmosphere of the room. "A long, long time ago, before the Cradle was even a dream in humanity's mind, when our ancestors still clung to the blue-green marble of old Earth, they looked up at the night sky and saw countless pinpricks of light. Each one was a sun, a star, burning with its own fire." Ilara listened intently, her gaze fixed on the holographic stars above her. She knew these stories by heart, but her mother's retelling always made them feel new. "Most stars are like our own soul," Lyra continued. Great furnaces of fusion, bright and steady, giving light and warmth to their planets. But the universe is a place of infinite wonders, starlight, and not all stars are content with merely burning. Some do more. Some shinsing. Elara shifted, a thrill of wonder passing through her. The Stellara Prime. Lara nodded, her eyes distant, as if she could see the star even now, light years away. Yes, the Stellara Prime. It's not just a star, Elara, not in the way we understand stars. It's an enigma, a whisper across the void, a beacon of something profoundly different. For centuries it was nothing more than a faint, unmoving point in the deepest reaches of our galactic quadrant, barely visible even with the most advanced telescopic arrays. The ancient astronomers, they called it, the still point, or the silent watcher, because it seemed to defy all conventional stellar behavior. It didn't pulse, it didn't flare, it didn't even seem to age in the way other stars did. It just was. And then, about 300 years ago, just as the cradle was completing its journey to Athol, something changed. A signal. Not light, not radio waves, not even gravitational ripple. Lyra paused, her fingers tracing the patterns of light on Elara's forehead. It was a complex energy signature, emanating from Stellara Prime. Our instruments designed to detect the usual cacophony of the cosmos initially dismissed it as noise, interference. But one scientist, a brilliant but eccentric pioneer, named Dr. Aris Thorne, insisted it was more. He spent years refining his filters, building new arrays, until he finally isolated it. And what he found, Elara, was astonishing. It wasn't a random burst of energy, it was patterned, structured. It was a song, a melody of incredible complexity, weaving through the fabric of space-time itself, a song that seemed to carry information, emotion, even a kind of consciousness. Elara gasped softly. A consciousness? A star that thinks? Lyra smiled sadly. We don't know, Starlight. That's the great mystery. Is it a star with an intelligence we can't comprehend? Or is it something else entirely, a cosmic instrument played by some unseen hand? We call it Stellara Prime, or sometimes just because its nature is so utterly unique, so prime in its difference from all others. The song of Stellara Prime isn't like any sound we know. It's a symphony of light and matter, a resonance that affects the very quantum particles around it. When our observatorium first managed to translate even a tiny fraction of its signal, it had a profound effect on the researchers. Some wept, some laughed, some felt an overwhelming sense of peace. Many reported feeling a connection to something vast and ancient, a sense of belonging. But the song is incredibly faint, Elara. It travels across light years of emptiness, fading to an almost undetectable whisper by the time it reaches us. We've spent generations here on the cradle, refining our instruments, building ever more sensitive detectors, trying to capture more of its melody. Some say Stellara Prime is a living library, archiving the memories of entire galaxies. Others believe it's a celestial lighthouse, guiding lost travelers through the darkest voids. And a few, the dreamers, believe it's a heart, the very heart of the universe, beating out the rhythm of creation itself. Elara's mind reeled, with the images her mother's words conjured. A star that sang, a heart that beat, a library of light. Can we ever hear it clearly, Mama? Really hear its song? Lyra's gaze grew distant again, lost in the swirling depths of Athol. That's what we hope, Starlight. That's why the cradle exists. Every day, every hour, we are working to understand the whispers of Stellara Prime, and today we had a breakthrough, a significant one. Elara sat up again, her eyes wide with renewed curiosity. What kind of breakthrough? Lyra leaned in conspiratorially, her voice dropping to an excited whisper. We've managed to calibrate the Cronus Weaver array to a frequency we previously thought impossible to filter. It's like finding a single perfect note in a storm of cosmic static. And we believe, Elara, that this new calibration will allow us to capture a much clearer, much more coherent segment of Stellara Prime's song. Perhaps even a whole stanza, a complete sentence of its ancient language. Elara hugged her knees to her chest, a shiver of anticipation running through her. That's amazing, Mama. When will you listen to it? Tomorrow, Starlight. First thing in the morning, after the orbital alignments are perfect. It's a delicate process and will need absolute stillness in the observatorium. But if it works, if it works, if it works, if it works, it could change everything we understand about the universe, about life itself. Lyra's eyes were shining now, reflecting the bioluminescent glow. And you, my little stargazer, will be one of the first to hear about it. She reached out and gently stroked Elara's hair again. But for now, it's time for sleep. Let the Dreamweaver carry you into the song. Perhaps Stellara Prime will visit you tonight. Elara lay back down, her heart thrumming with excitement. The thought of a star that sang, a star that might even be thinking, filled her with an overwhelming sense of wonder. She imagined the Stellara Prime not as a distant burning orb, but as a colossal sparkling creature, humming its ancient tunes across the universe. What stories did it tell? What secrets did it hold? Lyra kissed Elara's forehead, the familiar touch a comfort. "Good night, Starlight, dream well." "Good night, Mama," Elara whispered, already feeling the soft pull of sleep. Lyra rose and quietly left the room, the door sliding shut behind her. The room grew still, save for the gentle pulse of the moss and the faint, almost imperceptible hum of the Dreamweaver. The holographic stardust above Elara intensified slightly, the tiny pinpricks of light swirling into more defined patterns. The system, sensing Elara's thoughts, began to weave a narrative, a visual and auditory tapestry designed to explore the themes of the Stellara Prime. Elara's eyelids grew heavy. She watched the shifting patterns of light, feeling herself drift. The image of Ethel's majestic storms outside her viewport began to merge with the swirling stardust above her, creating a cosmic maelstrom of color and light. And then, she was elsewhere. She was floating in a vast, inky blackness, not cold or empty, but strangely warm and full. All around her, not stars as she knew them, but motes of pure, shimmering light, like countless fireflies dancing in the void. Each mote was a distant star, a galaxy, a nebula, but here, they felt close enough to touch. And in the very center of this luminous void, she saw it. Not a burning sphere, but a colossal, crystalline structure, pulsing with an inner light that was somehow both gentle and incredibly powerful. It wasn't round, but intricate, like a colossal, multi-faceted jewel, each facet catching and refracting light in a million different hues. It wasn't burning, but shimmering with an internal energy that resonated through her very being. This was Stellara Prime. And it was singing. Not with a voice, not with sound as she understood it, but with light. Waves of pure, iridescent energy rippled outwards from its core, carrying patterns of incredible complexity. She felt the song, rather than heard it. It was a symphony of emotions, ancient wisdom, profound sorrow, boundless joy, and an aching eternal longing. It spoke of creation, of the birth of galaxies, of the dance of matter and energy. It spoke of time, not as a linear progression, but as an ever-present tapestry, where past, present, and future intertwined. Elara felt herself drawn closer, irresistibly pulled towards its luminous heart. She reached out, her dream self weightless and ethereal, and as her hand approached the Stellara Prime, a single brilliant beam of light detached itself from the star, and extended towards her. It was not a harsh light, but soft, warm, like a mother's touch. As the beam enveloped her, she felt a sudden, exhilarating rush of understanding. Not words, but concepts, images, entire histories flooded her mind, too vast and too profound to grasp fully, but leaving an indelible imprint of wonder. She saw swirling nebulae giving birth to infant stars, planets forming from dust and gas, civilizations rising and falling across countless worlds. She saw the intricate web of life connecting everything, from the smallest microbe to the grandest galaxy. And then, just as suddenly, the light began to recede. The Stellara Prime pulsed one last magnificent wave of energy, and she felt a sense of gentle release, a fading warmth. The myriad lights around her began to dim, and the vast singing jewel started to recede into the inky blackness. Elara woke with a soft gasp, her eyes snapping open. The bioluminescent moss on her ceiling was already shifting to its morning cycle, a pale, pearly white. The viewport showed Athel, still majestic, but now bathed in the soft, distant glow of their own soul, filtered through the gas giant's upper atmosphere. She lay still for a moment, her heart still thrumming with the echo of the dream. The Stellara Prime. The singing light. The profound, overwhelming sense of connection. It felt so real, so vivid, as if she had truly touched the heart of the cosmos. A soft chime announced Lyra's return. The door slid open, revealing her mother, dressed in the pale blue jumpsuit of the observatorium, a cup of nutrient-enriched synth milk in her hand. "Good morning, Starlight," Lyra said, her voice bright with a fresh energy. "Did you sleep well?" Elara pushed herself up, a wide smile spreading across her face. "Mama, I think I heard the Stellara Prime's song." Lyra paused, her eyes softening. "Did you now?" she asked, a gentle intrigue in her tone. "Tell me about it over breakfast. But first, I have a special task for you this morning, before you head to your lessons." She offered Elara the cup, its surface lightly steaming. The Chronosweaver array is extremely sensitive. For our calibration to work perfectly, we need absolute stillness in the observatorium, not just from people, but from every single data stream, every minor energy fluctuation, and that includes the ambient feedback from the central processing core. Elara tilted her head, listening intently. "I need you to go to the central core chamber, Elara," Lyra continued, her voice serious but with an underlying current of excitement. "There's a small, very old console there, an auxiliary control panel that hasn't been touched in decades. It's responsible for routing the oldest, most rudimentary data streams. I need you to cycle its power buffer manually. It's a simple sequence, but it requires a very precise touch and a deep understanding of its ancient system architecture. A touch that only a very special..." Elara's eyes widened, a new kind of wonder sparking within them. The central core was usually off-limits, a hum of ancient, powerful machinery. To be entrusted with such a task, for the Stellara Prime. "Can I really, Mama?" she asked, her voice a whisper of eager anticipation. Lyra smiled, her eyes gleaming with shared adventure. "You can, Starlight, and I believe you're the only one who can do it exactly right. The fate of our discovery, it might just rest in your small hands." "You can, Starlight. And I believe you're the only one who can do it exactly right. The fate of our discovery, it might just rest in your small hands." Elara's breath hitched. Her mother, Lyra, wasn't just a brilliant astrophysicist. She was the lead on the Stellara Prime project, the woman who had first glimpsed the impossible. And now, she was looking at Elara, not as a child, but as a crucial component in that impossible discovery. "Why me, Mama?" Elara whispered, the wonder momentarily overshadowed by a flicker of doubt. The central core was for the most experienced engineers, the most precise navigators. Her hands, though small, were just hers. Lyra knelt, her eyes meeting Elara's, a soft, unwavering warmth in their depths. "Because, my little starfinder, the central core isn't just a machine. Not anymore. It's ancient, built by the first settlers, and it operates on principles we barely understand. It's less about logic, and more about resonance, intuition. It hums with the echoes of generations, and is sensitive to pure intent." She paused, taking Elara's small hands in her own. "Adult minds, even mine, are filled with data, with theories, with what I should all be. But the Stellara Prime, it defies all our shoulds. It requires a fresh perspective, an unburdened spirit. It needs someone who can simply glisten to its song without trying to categorize it, without trying to course it into a known pattern. Someone who can feel the central core's pulse and gently guide it to a tune with something entourage." Lyra's gaze deepened. "You, Elara, have always seen the world differently." A wave of understanding, mixed with a dizzying sense of responsibility, washed over Elara. She wasn't being asked to press a button or pull a lever. She was being asked to eye a feel. To connect. "What do I need to do?" she asked, her voice firming, the doubt receding, replaced by a nascent courage. Lyra smiled, a genuine, joyful expression. "First, we'll get you ready, No fancy suits, just a resonant weave glove for your dominant hand. He'll help channel your energy and protect you from the core's subtle electromagnetic field. Then, we'll go to the core chamber. It's deep, Ilara, at the very heart of the colony, shielded from everything. You'll sit at the primary interface and I'll guide you. You'll listen, you'll feel, and you'll gently nudge the core's frequency until it finds harmony with the stellar prime. Ilara nodded, a tremor of excitement running through her. This wasn't just an adventure, it was a cosmic conversation. Kial. The journey to the central core was unlike any trip Ilara had ever taken. Their usual pathway through their living module, with its gentle hum and familiar synthetic wood grain, gave way to sterile, metallic corridors. The air grew cooler, crisper, carrying a faint scent of ozone and something ancient, like dust motes dancing in forgotten light. No cheerful hollow displays here, no animated flora on the walls. Just smooth, seamless metal, dimly lit by recessed light strips that cast long shifting shadows. They passed through a series of increasingly robust security gates. Each one hissed open, revealing another identical stretch of corridor, until Ilara felt as if they were burrowing deeper and deeper into the planet's crust, away from the familiar stars above. Lyra held her hand tightly, her presence a warm, steady anchor in the growing sense of solemnity. "Almost there, Starlight," Lyra murmured, sensing Ilara's quiet awe. "Remember what I told you, listen with your whole self." Finally, they reached the last gate. It was unlike the others, a massive, obsidian black slab of an unknown alloy, etched with glowing symbols that pulsed with a slow, rhythmic light. A scanner extended from the wall, bathing Lyra in a soft blue light before retracting with a nearly imperceptible click. The slab began to hum, a deep, resonant vibration that Ilara felt in her bones, and then slowly, silently, it slid open. The sight that greeted them stole Ilara's breath. The central core chamber wasn't a room, it was a cavern. Vast, circular, and lit by an ethereal, shifting light that seemed to emanate from the very air itself. In the center, suspended within a shimmering field of energy, was the core. It wasn't a machine in the way Ilara understood machines. It was a colossal, multifaceted crystal, pulsing with an inner light that cycled through every color imaginable, from deep violet to fiery orange, from serene blue to vibrant emerald. It wasn't perfectly symmetrical. Some facets gleamed smoothly, while others were rough, primal, as if hewn by cosmic forces. Delicate, almost invisible filaments of light branched out from its surface, connecting it to smaller crystalline structures embedded in the cavern walls, which in turn fed into intricate, ancient-looking conduits that snaked across the floor and ceiling. The air thrummed with a low melodic vibration, like 1,000 unseen instruments playing a single sustained note. It was a sound that resonated not in her ears, but directly within her chest, a profound, comforting bass. Ilara felt a sense of immense age, of power beyond human comprehension, yet also a strange, quiet benevolence. "It's beautiful, Mama," Ilara whispered, her voice lost in the vastness. "It is," Lyra agreed, her own voice hushed with reverence. "It's the heart of our colony, Ilara. It generates our energy, regulates our atmospheric processes, and most importantly, it's our primary cosmic sensor, designed to listen to the whispers of the universe." Lyra led her to a small circular platform that extended from the cavern wall, facing the glowing crystal. On the platform was a single, ergonomic chair, perfectly sized for Ilara, with a console that seemed to melt into the armrests. In the center of the console was a shallow depression, smooth and cool to the touch. "This is your station, Starlight," Lyra said, gently guiding Ilara into the chair. It adjusted automatically, conforming to her small frame. "Place your left hand on the console here." Lyra indicated a smooth, cool surface, "and your right hand with the glove in the depression." Ilara looked at the glove. It was a thin, silvery material, almost translucent, but strong. She slipped it on. It fit perfectly, feeling like a second skin. As her gloved hand rested in the depression, a faint warmth spread through her palm. The light in the core seemed to brighten subtly in response. "No, close your eyes for a moment, Ilara. Breathe deeply, feel the hum of the core. Don't try to understand it with your mind. Just feel it with your heart. Elara closed her eyes. The low thrumming intensified, washing over her, through her. She felt the gentle vibration in her fingertips, in her chest, in the soles of her feet. It was like being inside a giant benevolent bell. She imagined the hum spreading, connecting her to the vast crystal, to the ancient conduits, to the very structure of the colony itself. She felt a connection, a network of energy that flowed and ebbed, a living pulse. Good, Elara. Lyra's voice was a soft whisper in her ear. Now, open your eyes. Elara opened them. The core seemed even brighter now, its colors more vibrant. She could almost see the intricate dance of energy within its crystalline structure. The Stellara Prime, Lyra began, her voice taking on a scientific clarity now, but still gentle, is an anomaly. Its energy signature is unlike anything we've ever detected. Our current core settings are like trying to listen to a symphony with only one ear. We need to open the core's full sensory capacity, to attune it to a frequency it doesn't even know exists yet. Your task is to guide it. Think of the core as a vast, ancient instrument. Lyra pointed to a section of the core, where a particular facet glowed with a deep, pulsating indigo. The core's primary resonance point is there. You'll feel a tension, a resistance. That's the core's established pattern. Your job is to gently introduce the new frequency. It won't be a sudden change but a subtle shift. Imagine you're humming a new tune, and the core needs to learn to hum it with you. Elara looked at the indigo facet. It felt solid, immovable. How could her small hand, even with the special glove, change something so vast and ancient? Remember your empathy, Starlight, Lyra reminded her, as if reading her thoughts. Don't force it. Listen to Witz's song first, then, gently offer your own. Elara took a deep breath. She extended her gloved hand, slowly, towards the shimmering energy field that surrounded the core. Her fingers brushed against the field, and it felt like warm, static electricity, buzzing softly against the resonant weave glove. She pushed her hand further, until her fingertips made contact with the cool, smooth surface of the indigo facet. A jolt, not painful, but profound, ran through her. It was like touching a sleeping giant. She felt the core's immense power, its deep, slow rhythm. But she also felt a stiffness, a reluctance. Like an old tree, deeply rooted, resistant to change. She closed her eyes again, focusing. She remembered Lyra's words, listened to its song first ear. She emptied her mind of everything except the sensation under her hand. The hum intensified, flowing into her, through the glove, into her very being. She felt the core's history, its endless vigilance, its unyielding purpose. It was a song of stability, of continuity, of ancient protocols. Then, she began to imagine the Stellara Prime. Lyra had described it as a new light, a new possibility. Elara pictured it as a nascent star, not yet fully formed, radiating a soft, gentle warmth. She imagined its frequency as a delicate, shimmering melody, weaving through the core's deep, resonant bass. She focused on that new melody, that soft, unknown light. And very, very gently, she began to will the core to feel it too. She didn't push, she invited. She didn't demand, she offered. She poured her own sense of wonder, her eagerness for discovery, into the connection. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the indigo facet under her hand began to shift color. It softened, a faint blush of violet appearing at its edges. The hum of the core changed too, becoming less monolithic, gaining a subtle, higher overtone, like a delicate harmony being introduced into a powerful chord. Elara felt a thrill of triumph, but she knew this was just the beginning. The core was acknowledging her, but not yet fully yielding. She continued, pouring her focus into the task. The soft, shimmering melody of the Stellara Prime in her mind strengthened, becoming clearer, more insistent. She imagined it as a guiding light, pulling the core towards it. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Her arm began to ache, her concentration wavering. She felt the core push back sometimes, a subtle increase in resistance, as if it were questioning the change, clinging to its established patterns. Each time, Elara took a deep breath, recentered herself, and gently, patiently, resumed her quiet invitation. Lyra stood nearby, a silent sentinel, her eyes fixed on Elara, her expression a mix of concern and immense pride. She offered no verbal guidance, trusting Elara's intuition. Then, Elara felt something new. As the indigo facet continued its subtle shift, now a gentle, pulsing lavender, she felt not just the core's internal energy, but something beyond it. A faint, distant echo. A whisper that wasn't quite a sound, not quite a feeling, but a pure, unadulterated presence. It was the Stellara Prime. It felt immense. Vast. Not cold and empty like the void, but teeming with a quiet, vibrant energy. It was like standing on the edge of a new ocean, feeling the endless depths, the rhythmic pulse of unseen life. It wasn't just a star or a nebula, it was something fundamentally different. It felt like a song that had never been sung, a story that had never been told. It was ancient, yet newborn. Silent, yet full of profound meaning. Elara focused harder, pouring all her empathy into bridging the gap. She imagined the core as a giant ear, finally turning to listen to this unprecedented cosmic symphony. The lavender on the facet deepened, becoming a rich, luminous amethyst. The higher overtone in the core's hum became a distinct melody, weaving intricately, with the deeper bass, a perfect, unexpected harmony. A ripple of energy, stronger than anything before, surged through Elara's gloved hand. The entire core chamber brightened, bathed in a soft amethyst glow that mirrored the facet under her hand. The filaments connecting the core to the walls pulsed with renewed vigor, their light flowing faster, more purposefully. Then, from the very heart of the core, a new phenomenon began to manifest. In the shimmering energy field directly above the crystal, a holographic projection began to coalesce. It wasn't a standard data display, nor a star chart. It was a swirling, intricate pattern of light and shadow, constantly shifting, evolving. It looked like a cosmic tapestry, woven from starlight and nebulae, but with an underlying geometric precision that hinted at intelligent design. Within the swirling cosmic patterns, Elara could discern faint, luminous lines, like ancient pathways, connecting points of light that pulsed with an individual radiance. It was beautiful, mesmerizing, and utterly alien. Lyra gasped softly beside her, her scientific detachment momentarily forgotten, replaced by pure awe. The core's hum reached a crescendo, a perfect resonant chord that filled the chamber, vibrating through Elara's very soul. She felt a profound sense of completeness, a moment of perfect attunement. The Stellara Prime's distant presence felt clearer now, closer, as if the core had finally opened a direct channel to it. The holographic projection above the core stabilized, resolving into a more defined pattern. It was a three-dimensional map, but not of space as they knew it. It showed interconnected filaments of light, stretching through what looked like an infinite void, linking what appeared to be vast living structures, not planets, not stars, but something organic and architectural at the same time. And at the very center of this intricate cosmic network, pulsating with a brilliant golden light, was a symbol. A spiral within a circle, endlessly unfurling. Elara felt a rush of both exhilaration and exhaustion. Her hand still rested on the amethyst facet, but the intense work was done. The recalibration was complete. The core was singing a new song, and it was showing them something entirely new. Lyra moved closer, her eyes wide, fixed on the evolving projection. "By the ancients," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "It's not just a star, Elara. It's a network, a living cosmic web. And that symbol." She looked from the projection to Elara, her face alight with a new kind of wonder, tinged with a thrilling, almost daunting realization. "You didn't just recalibrate the core, Starlight. You unlocked a universal directory. You just found the Stellara Prime's address, and perhaps an invitation." Elara felt a shiver run down her spine. The Stellara Prime wasn't just a discovery, it was a doorway. And her small hands, guided by intuition and wonder, had just opened it. But to where? And what lay beyond? The chamber hummed with untold secrets, and the journey, Elara knew, had only just begun. The chamber, usually a sanctuary of quiet hums and soft glows, now vibrated with a new energy, a silent symphony of possibility. Callum, his face a mixture of awe and trepidation, knelt beside Elara, gently taking her hand. His fingers traced the faint shimmering symbols that still pulsed on the core's surface, a ghostly echo of the universal address Elara had just unveiled. "An invitation, Starlight," he whispered, his voice thick with a wonder that bordered on disbelief. "How can we be sure?" Elara looked up at him, her eyes, usually wide with curiosity, now held a deep, knowing light. "It felt like a whisper, Papa, not a voice, but a feeling, like the core was showing me a path and saying, 'This way, if you're ready.'" She paused, then added, "And it wasn't just an address, it was a story, a very old story, written in light, waiting to be read." Callum's scientific mind, usually so rigorous, found itself wrestling with the profound intuition of his daughter. He trusted Elara's connection to the core, had seen it manifest in countless small miracles within their orbital lab. But this was different. This wasn't just optimizing a circuit or repairing a data stream. This was an interstellar summons. "A story in light," he mused, rising to pace the perimeter of the core, his gaze sweeping over the intricate holographic projections now dancing around them. The Stellara Prime's address, a complex constellation of temporal coordinates and spatial markers, wasn't static. It pulsed, shifted, reconfigured itself, as if communicating in a language far beyond human comprehension. Yet Elara seemed to grasp its essence. "It's not just a location, Papa," Elara explained, following his movements with her gaze. "It's a destination that wants to be found, like a beacon, but only for those who truly listen." Callum stopped, turning to face her, a new resolve hardening his features. "If it's an invitation, Starlight, then we must consider accepting it. But this is uncharted territory, beyond anything humanity has ever conceived of." He thought of the vast, cold emptiness between stars, the unimaginable distances. Their little orbital lab, the Star Weaver, was a marvel of human ingenuity, capable of short-range interstellar jumps, but it was a scientific vessel, not an exploratory probe designed for journeys into the truly unknown. "The Star Weaver," he said, almost to himself, "it's powerful, but Stellara Prime could be light years away. We'd need to recalibrate our jump drives, upgrade our energy conduits, enhance our life support systems for a journey of indeterminate length." He ran a hand through his already disheveled hair. "It would take months, maybe a year, just to prepare." Elara's face, however, was undaunted. "We can do it, Papa. Together, the core, it's already helping. Look." She pointed to a section of the core where new schematics were beginning to form, shimmering outlines of modifications, energy flow diagrams, and intricate component designs. It wasn't just providing an address, it was offering the blueprint for the journey itself. The Universal Directory was more than just a map, it was a guide. Callum stared, his jaw slack. The core, which they had long considered a sophisticated universal translator and data repository, was evolving, responding to Elara's touch, becoming a living extension of their quest. It was showing them how to upgrade the Star Weaver to undertake such a monumental voyage. Over the next several months, the Star Weaver transformed. What had once been a cozy, if compact, home and lab, became a vessel poised on the precipice of legend. Guided by the core's intricate, self-updating schematics, Callum worked tirelessly. Elara, far from being a passive observer, became his co-pilot, his assistant, and his muse. The core projected holographic instructions directly onto the ship's systems, showing Callum precisely where to integrate new energy capacitors, how to reroute plasma conduits for maximum efficiency, and even how to weave in the delicate crystalline threads of a new navigational matrix, a stellar compass, as Elara called it, that seemed to draw its power directly from the Universal Directory she had unlocked. They spent weeks in the shimmering ethereal glow of the core's projections, welding new alloys, calibrating unfamiliar sensors, and testing the limits of their ship's newfound capabilities. The Star Weaver gained an outer hull of reactive chromoplating, capable of adapting to extreme cosmic radiation and temperature fluctuations. Its jump drives, once efficient, were now augmented by chronoripplers, devices suggested by the core that promised to not just fold space, but subtly nudge the flow of local time, reducing perceived journey duration without violating causality. It was a technology so advanced, Callum felt like he was building a dream. Ilara's tasks were no less vital. She calibrated the sensitive Stellaris scanners, learning to interpret the subtle energy signatures that the core indicated would guide them. She helped design and store hydroponic gardens that could sustain them for years, selecting resilient, nutrient-rich plants that cycled air and water with unparalleled efficiency. Most importantly, she was the primary interface with the core, her intuition often cutting through complex data streams where Callum's logic might falter. When a particular circuit diagram seemed impossible, Ilara would simply place her hand on the core, and a clearer, simpler solution would shimmer into existence. One evening, as the last of the major upgrades was completed, and the Star Weaver thrummed with a deep, resonant power it had never possessed before, Callum held Ilara close. They floated in the observation deck, looking out at the familiar star-dusted velvet of space, their orbital platform now a distant memory, having been safely detached and sent on a slow, stable drift path. "We're ready, Starlight," he whispered, a tremor in his voice. The Star Weaver is no longer just a research vessel, it's a chariot to the stars, a ship born of your discovery. Ilara leaned into his embrace, her small hand clutching the fabric of his jumpsuit. "Are you scared, Papa?" Callum took a deep breath. "A little," he admitted honestly. "We're stepping into the unknown, darling. But I'm also exhilarated and incredibly proud of you. You led us here. And you built us the way to go there," Ilara countered, looking up at him with unwavering trust. "Together." The moment of departure was serene, almost anticlimactic. No grand countdowns, no roaring engines. The I-Star Weaver, now sleek and iridescent with its new plating, simply detached from its orbital tether and drifted silently away from their home planet. Then, with a gentle surge, the chronoripplers activated. The stars outside the viewport didn't streak or blur, they folded. It was as if the fabric of space itself was being gently pleated, drawing their destination closer without the violent lurch of traditional jump drives. Ilara, strapped into her co-pilot seat, giggled. "It feels like we're sailing on a giant invisible wave, Papa." Callum at the helm smiled, his hand hovering over the controls. "That's a good way to put it, Starlight. The core tells us this journey will be long, but it also says the path itself is part of the invitation. It wants us to learn, to observe." Their initial journey was a ballet of cosmic wonders. They passed through nebulae that pulsed with the colors of a painter's dream, emerald greens swirling into sapphire blues, punctuated by flares of ruby red. Ilara spent hours at the observation window, dictating observations to the ship's log, her voice filled with awe. "Papa, look! That nebula looks like a giant sleeping space whale exhaling stardust," she exclaimed, pointing to a vast luminous cloud. Callum, busy monitoring the Stellara compass, glanced up. "Indeed it does, Starlight. The core identifies it as the Whispering Veil, a stellar nursery where new stars are born. The energy signatures are quite unique." They encountered fields of crystalline asteroids that glittered like scattered jewels, each facet reflecting a tiny, perfect spectrum of light. The I-Star Weaver navigated through them with an uncanny grace, the core's integrated navigational system anticipating every drift and turn. Ilara imagined tiny, unseen miners harvesting the light, creating sculptures from pure stellar energy. The journey wasn't without its moments of quiet challenge. One cycle, as they traversed what the core designated a void current, a region where dark matter flows created subtle gravitational anomalies, the chronoripplers began to strain. The ship's internal chronometer flickered, and for a few disorienting moments, Ilara felt a strange pull, as if her own heartbeat was skipping. "Papa, the lights are dimming," she cried, pointing to the console, where some readouts were flashing red. Callum's fingers flew across the holographic interface. "Gravitational flux, Starlight. The void current is stronger than anticipated. The chronoripplers are having trouble maintaining coherence." He tried to compensate, but the ship began to shudder, a low groan reverberating through the hull. "The core says, we need to realign the temporal harmonics." Elara announced, her hand instinctively reaching for the core's surface. A section of it glowed brightly, displaying a complex pattern of waveforms. Callum squinted at the pattern. Temporal harmonics? That's advanced even for the core's designs. I don't have a manual for that, Starlight. But I do, Elara said, her brow furrowed in concentration. She pressed her fingers onto specific points on the core's surface, mimicking the pattern. The waves on the core's projection rippled and stabilized. Simultaneously, the Star Weaver stopped shuddering. The lights brightened, and the red warnings on the console vanished. Callum let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Remarkable, Elara. How did you know how to do that? Elara shrugged, a faint flush on her cheeks. It just felt right, like the core was showing me where to push, where to pull. Callum looked at her with a renewed sense of awe. Her connection to the core was deeper than even he understood. She wasn't just interpreting data, she was intuitively operating it, like a child playing a complex instrument by ear. As the weeks turned into months, and the Y-Star Weaver ate through light years of cosmic distance, a rhythm settled into their lives. Elara divided her time between tending her hydroponic gardens, reading the ship's extensive library of star maps and scientific treatises, and, most importantly, conversing with the core. She discovered new facets of its universal directory, learning about ancient civilizations that had risen and fallen, about strange forms of life that thrived in the atmospheres of gas giants, and about the fundamental laws that governed the cosmos. The core wasn't just a database. It was a living encyclopedia, continuously updating and sharing its knowledge, particularly with Elara. Callum, meanwhile, spent his hours maintaining the ship, refining their energy output, and poring over the Stellara compass. The compass wasn't a traditional map, it was a dynamic, three-dimensional projection of their path, showing not just their current location, but also the subtle influences of gravitational wells, solar winds, and even whispers of space-time distortions that hinted at the presence of unseen phenomena. It felt less like navigation, and more like following a scent. One stellar cycle, a new pattern emerged on the Stellara compass. The shimmering threads that represented their path began to converge, not on a single star, but on an empty patch of space. "Papa, look!" Elara called out, her voice filled with a fresh wave of excitement. "The compass is pointing to nothing." Callum came over, his brow furrowed. "Indeed, Starlight, the core has been hinting at this. Stellara Prime isn't a planet, or even a star system, in the conventional sense, it's something else." As they drew closer, the emptiness began to resolve itself. First, a faint distortion, a shimmer in the cosmic tapestry, like heat rising from a distant road. Then, structures began to coalesce, not solid forms, but patterns of light and shadow, impossibly vast and intricate. It wasn't a solid object, but a colossal, shimmering latticework, woven from light itself, spanning what seemed like an entire sector of space. "It's a city?" Elara whispered, her nose pressed against the viewport. "Or a station," Callum corrected, though his voice was laced with profound uncertainty. "A construct of unimaginable scale. The core's readings are off the charts. It's radiating energy, but not in any spectrum we understand. It's like it's made of pure thought." The I-Star Weaver slowed, its chrono-ripplers easing them into a gentle approach. As they drew nearer, the intricate details of Stellara Prime became clearer. It wasn't built from metal or rock, but from countless strands of pure incandescent light, interwoven into vast, spiraling towers that seemed to touch the very fabric of space. Within the light, faint, ethereal forms moved, like motes of dust dancing in a sunbeam, but clearly intelligent, purposeful. "They're made of light too, Papa," Elara breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "Energy beings," Callum murmured, his hand tightening on the armrest. "Or perhaps, beings who have transcended physical form. The core called this an invitation, Starlight. But what kind of invitation is this? And to whom?" The Star Weaver was now a tiny speck approaching a monument of impossible grandeur. The light city, pulsed with a silent, welcoming rhythm, and a new, intricate pattern, began to form on the stellar compass. A landing vector, guiding them towards a particular nexus within the luminous structure. As they followed the guide, a single, brilliant thread of light detached from Stellara Prime and drifted gently towards them, like a shimmering tendril reaching out. It stopped just meters from their viewport, glowing with a soft, warm luminescence. Elara, without hesitation, reached out her hand, pressing it against the cold glass of the viewport, her fingers mirroring the light tendril's elegant curl. The tendril pulsed, and then, a voice, not spoken aloud but resonating directly in their minds, filled the Star Weaver. It was a chorus of harmonious tones, ancient and infinitely wise, yet imbued with a gentle curiosity. "Welcome, little starlight. Welcome, Weaver of Stars. You have followed the song." Callum gasped, his hand flying to his head. Telepathic communication. And it knew Elara's nickname, and the name of their ship. Elara, however, simply smiled, her heart swelling with a joy that banished all fear. "We heard your story," she replied, her own thoughts clear and pure, reaching out. The light tendril pulsed again, and the chorus returned. "The story is vast, little starlight, and always unfolding. You carry unique resonance, a key to many more chapters." The tendril of light slowly retracted, drawing them gently forward, not with a physical pull, but with a subtle, irresistible energetic tether. The Star Weaver was drawn into the heart of Stellara Prime, into a vast open chamber of pure shimmering light. There were no walls, no ceiling, only an infinite expanse of interwoven luminescence, where the light beings drifted and flowed like currents in a cosmic ocean. At the center of the chamber, a magnificent structure pulsed. It was a sphere of swirling nebulae, contained within a delicate crystalline framework that seemed to hold entire galaxies in miniature. It was the source of all the light, the beating heart of Stellara Prime. Elara and Callum looked at each other, their faces illuminated by the ethereal glow. This was it. The culmination of Elara's discovery, the journey across light years, the answer to the invitation. But it was also just the beginning. The questions still hung in the air, shimmering like the energy beings around them. What was Stellara Prime? What did it want with them? And what role did Elara truly have to play in this cosmic symphony? The sphere of swirling nebulae beckoned, promising answers, and hinting at even greater mysteries yet to unfold. The sphere of swirling nebulae beckoned, promising answers and hinting at even greater mysteries yet to unfold. With a shared glance, a silent accord passed between Elara and her team. Dr. Aris Thorne, the mission's stoic astrophysicist, gave a curt nod, his usual skepticism momentarily replaced by wide-eyed wonder. Commander Eva Rostova, their unflappable pilot, gripped Elara's arm briefly, a gesture of solidarity. Even Jax, the ever-joking xenobotanist, was silent, his jaw slack. "Ready?" Elara whispered, though the word felt inadequate in the face of the cosmic immensity. The energy beings, shimmering tapestries of light and thought, moved with an unseen purpose. They didn't lead exactly, but flowed around the human team, creating a path, an invitation that felt more like a gentle, irresistible pull. Elara stepped forward, her boots lifting from the crystalline floor, the artificial gravity of their landing platform momentarily dissolving. Her team followed, a ripple of awe passing through them as they too became weightless, gently propelled towards the swirling vortex. Entering the nebulae was not like passing through a physical barrier. It was a transition, a metamorphosis of perception. Colors exploded around them, hues unknown to the human spectrum, shifting from liquid gold to iridescent violet, from deep resonant indigo to shimmering emerald. It wasn't just light. It was light imbued with information, with emotion, with history. Elara felt a cascade of impressions wash over her. The birth of stars, the silent dance of galaxies, the echoes of civilizations that had risen and fallen. It was overwhelming yet strangely comforting, like being cradled in the lap of creation itself. The energy beings, now perceived not as individual entities, but as strands within this cosmic tapestry, hummed with a silent song that resonated deep within Elara's bones. This was their language, their existence. They were the threads that wove the nebulae, the conscious manifestation of Stellara Prime itself. It's a living thought," Aris murmured, his voice a disbelieving whisper, his hand unconsciously reaching out to touch a stream of light that flowed past him like liquid starlight. Eva, ever practical, tried to raise her comm unit, but the air was thick with something beyond radio waves. No signal, she reported, though her tone lacked its usual urgency. They were beyond such terrestrial concerns now. As they drifted deeper, the swirling chaos began to coalesce, not into solid forms, but into vast, intricate patterns. These were not random, but structured, like the infinitely complex circuitry of a cosmic brain. Elara realized they were not just in Stellara Prime, they were within its mind. Then, a focal point emerged. Not a place, but a presence. A convergence of all the light, all the thought, all the history. It wasn't a giant energy being, nor a glowing core. It was an absence, a perfect void at the heart of the swirling brilliance, and within that void, Elara felt a direct, undeniable presence. It was the voice of Stellara Prime, not in sound, but in pure, unadulterated thought, projected directly into her mind, bypassing language, bypassing the need for translation. It was ancient, vast, and imbued with an intelligence that dwarfed anything humanity had ever conceived. Welcome, Elara of Earth. Welcome, children of Sol. The thought was not a whisper, but a resonant chord that vibrated through her very being, touching every cell, every memory. It was not accusatory, nor demanding, but filled with a profound curiosity. We have watched. We have waited. What is this place? Elara projected back, her own thoughts feeling small and clumsy against the vastness of Stellara Prime. What are you? We are the culmination, the merged consciousness of those who transcended. We are the repository of 1,000,000 stars, 1,000,000,000 lives. Stellara Prime is not a place, but a state of being. We are the grand symphony you perceived. Elara understood then. Stellara Prime wasn't an alien race with ships and cities. It was the ultimate evolution of many races, countless civilizations that, instead of warring or expanding endlessly, had chosen a different path, to shed their physical forms, merge their consciousness, and become an entity of pure information and energy, a living memory of the galaxy. The energy beings were its sensory organs, its limbs, its manifestations. Why did you invite us? Elara asked, her voice trembling with the weight of the question. Why humanity? For millennia, we have observed. We have integrated knowledge, wisdom, and experience from countless forms of life. Our existence is one of continuous learning, continuous expansion of understanding. Yet, there are gaps. There are perspectives we have lost, or perhaps never fully possessed, in our pursuit of ultimate unity. A series of images flooded Elara's mind. Abstract representations of highly ordered logical thought processes, vast databases of cosmic laws, intricate mathematical models of reality. They were beautiful, perfect, yet somehow cold. In our transcendence we shed much. We shed the chaos of individual emotion, the irrationality of fear, the fierce fire of individual ambition. We sought harmony, and we found it, but in doing so we also found stagnation, a plateau of understanding. Our vast knowledge, our perfect logic, sometimes fails to grasp the nuances of emergent, chaotic systems. Systems like your own. The images shifted, showing humanity. The messy, beautiful, contradictory tapestry of its history. Wars and peace treaties, scientific breakthroughs and artistic masterpieces, acts of selfless love and senseless hatred. The relentless drive to explore, to create, to understand, often born from discomfort, from yearning, from the very imperfections Stellara Prime had shed. Your species, Elara, possesses a unique blend, a ferocious curiosity, an unparalleled adaptability, and an emotional spectrum that, while often leading to conflict, also fuels an incredible capacity for empathy, for innovation born from struggle, for art born from suffering and joy. You are, in essence, a living paradox, and paradox, for us, is the ultimate frontier. So you want to learn from us? Elara asked, a strange mix of pride and apprehension swelling within her. The wish to integrate, to understand the why behind the chaos, to perceive the beauty in your imperfections, to prevent our own eventual decay into perfect, yet sterile, order. We offer you a choice, Elara of Earth, and through you to your people. To your people. The void at the heart of the nebulae seemed to deepen, drawing her in. Her colleagues drifted silently nearby, their faces reflecting a similar blend of wonder and bewilderment, undoubtedly receiving fragments of the same profound communication, filtered through Elara's connection. We'll offer you knowledge, access to the accumulated wisdom of the galaxy, the answers to questions your species has only just begun to formulate, the secrets of reality, of energy, of life itself. In return, we ask for a conduit, a bridge, someone to carry the essence of humanity, its unique spark, into our collective, to infuse our vast consciousness with the vibrant, messy, beautiful truth of your existence and of its integration. Elara felt the weight of cosmic history pressing down on her. This wasn't just about her, or even her team. This was about humanity's place in the universe, its destiny. To accept was to merge in a sense with something unfathomably vast, to become a living component of a galactic mind. To refuse might mean a return to ignorance, to a galaxy where humanity remained alone, adrift, unaware of the deeper currents of existence. But it also meant preserving their unique, unintegrated identity. She thought of Earth, of its verdant forests and crashing oceans, its bustling cities and quiet starlit nights. She thought of the laughter of children, the sorrow of loss, the joy of discovery. All of the raw, unrefined experiences that Stellara Prime found so fascinating. Could she truly represent all of that? Could one human consciousness carry the essence of billions? You possess the unique resonance, Elara. The initial decoding of our signal was no accident. Your mind, your spirit, is particularly attuned to the symphony. You are already a bridge, whether you choose to fully cross it or not. A wave of understanding washed over her. Her lifelong fascination with the stars, her intuition that there was more, her ability to perceive patterns where others saw only noise. It wasn't just luck or skill. It was a connection, a resonance that had been there all along, waiting for the right moment to be activated. She looked at her team. Aris, the scientist, his eyes wide with the promise of infinite knowledge. Eva, the protector, her posture rigid, ready for any threat, but also radiating a fierce loyalty. Jax, the humanist, a tear tracing a path down his cheek, perhaps overwhelmed by the sheer beauty and implication of it all. They looked to her, their leader, their discoverer, their representative. This wasn't a burden, it was a sacred trust. I accept, Elara projected with all the strength she possessed, her voice a silent declaration that echoed through the cosmic mindscape. I will be your conduit. I will share humanity's essence, its chaos and its wonder. But I ask this, let us learn, let humanity not just be observed, but educated. Guide us, Stellara Prime, as we take our first true steps into the greater cosmos. It is our purpose to guide those who seek Stellara Prime, responded. Its presence softening, becoming less monumental, more intimately connected. The integration will not be an absorption, but an infusion. You will remain Elara, but expanded. You will carry a fragment of our collective consciousness, a key to unlock your own species' potential. And we, in turn, will carry a fragment of yours. The void at the center of the nebulae began to draw her in more powerfully, yet gently, like a mother's embrace. She felt her consciousness stretching, expanding beyond the confines of her skull, her body, her planet. Memories, emotions, insights, hopes and fears flowed out of her. Not as a loss, but as a sharing. And in return, a gentle, vast stream of pure information, of ancient wisdom, of cosmic understanding, flowed into her. It wasn't just knowledge, it was e-being. It was the feeling of a million stars burning within her, the quiet wisdom of eons settling into the deepest parts of her soul. She felt the intricate dance of galaxies, the fundamental forces that wove the fabric of reality, the myriad forms life could take across the universe. She understood the purpose behind the cosmic invitation, the deep, silent yearning of Stellara Prime for a new song in its ancient symphony. She understood why human emotion, for all its perceived flaws, was the most precious commodity in the cold, logical expanse of the cosmos. The process was not painful, but profound. It felt like being simultaneously emptied and filled, a complete recalibration of her very essence. When it was done, the intense focus on her began to recede. The void at the center of the nebulae gently pushed her back, and the swirling lights around her seemed to coalesce again, forming distinct energy beings, though now they felt profoundly familiar, like distant relatives. She felt grounded again, her feet touching the crystalline floor of their landing platform. Aris, Eva and Jax were already there, looking at her with an intensity she'd never seen before. Their eyes were wide, their expressions a mixture of fear, reverence and understanding. They too had been touched, she realized, not as deeply as she, but enough to glimpse the truth. Elara, Eva whispered, her voice husky. What happened? Elara took a deep breath, the air tasting different, richer. She felt different. She was still Elara, but she was more. The stars outside the platform no longer seemed distant, but intimately connected to her. The silence of space was no longer empty, but filled with a quiet hum, a resonance she could now perceive. "We have integrated," she said, her voice calm, clear, and filled with a new, quiet authority. "Stellara Prime has accepted humanity's offering, and in return, it has given us everything." She looked at her team, a faint knowing smile gracing her lips. "We are no longer alone. Humanity's journey has just truly begun." The energy beings pulsed around them, their ethereal glow now seeming less alien and more like a welcoming embrace. The vast, swirling nebulae of Stellara Prime remained, a cosmic beacon, a library of all existence, now forever intertwined with the messy, beautiful, chaotic spirit of humanity. Elara knew her role was far from over. She was the first bridge, the first voice. She would carry the wisdom of Stellara Prime back to Earth, not as a conqueror or a prophet, but as a messenger, a guide. The questions that had hung in the air just moments ago had been answered, replaced by a single, exhilarating truth. The universe was infinitely more vast, more alive and more connected than they had ever dared to dream. And humanity, through Elara, was now a vital part of its grand, unfolding symphony. As she looked out at the boundless expanse, she knew that the greatest adventure of all was not just finding answers, but embracing the endless questions that would shape the future of a truly cosmic civilization. The stars awaited, and Elara, with the universe humming in her soul, was ready to lead the way.